After nearly 20 years, Onimusha returns with a brand new entry into the series with Way of the Sword. It looks incredible, so we're going to take a look at that trailer today and also go over a blog post which gives us a little bit of information in regards to the story and where it will be taking place. So if any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button, and if you're new here and you'd like to stick around, you can subscribe and help support the channel. And as always, you can leave your thoughts in the comments down below. So for me, one of the biggest announcements from the 2024 Game Awards was the return of Onimusha. It's a franchise that I love. I played the original Onimusha Warlords back when it launched on PS2. I was a kid and I was immediately enamored with it because I was also a really big Resident Evil and Capcom fan. And Onimusha was essentially, let's take Resident Evil, put it in feudal Japan, swap out the zombies for Oni, and the Stars team for Samurai. And I just loved it. And it's this super fun, kind of cheesy game with its dialogue, but it's got so much heart. I love the puzzle mechanics. I love the different elemental weapons. It was super fun. And the franchise would go pretty strong until the fourth game, Dawn of Dreams, which was not a bad game. It was a good game, but unfortunately it just did not sell well. And ever since then, the series has pretty much been on ice, and it really felt like it was never going to come back. We did get the Onimusha Warlords HD remaster, which was great, although from what I know, apparently that didn't sell very well either. And then we did get the Netflix series, which was pretty cool. So when the Netflix show came out, that kind of gave me hope that maybe one day Onimusha would make a return. And here it is in 2024, Onimusha is officially back, and it looks insane. So to get a little bit more information on Way of the Sword, we're going to head over to the PlayStation blog where Capcom gives us a little bit of information. They go on to say, "We're thrilled to announce after nearly 2 decades, the Onimusha series is returning with Onimusha Way of the Sword, a brand new swordplay action game coming in 2026. Onimusha first debuted with Onimusha Warlords back in 2001, with swordplay combat based on the Isen counterattack mechanics. Introduced as a staple of the series, the mystical Oni Gauntlet bestowed the ability to absorb souls from the Genma, who were monstrous deformed creatures from another world. At the Game Awards, we came back with a swing, or should we say slash, very cheeky. Onimusha Way of the Sword is set in Kyoto in the early Edo period. The nefarious malice has transformed the historic city into a dark, twisted haven for the return of the demonic Genma. A lone samurai steps forth, wielding the legendary Oni Gauntlet, and engages in brutally graceful sword fights, wiping his brow of sweat and blood. What path will he take, and what is the reason behind those battle-worn eyes?" Capcom then goes on to thank the Onimusha fans by saying, "To all the Onimusha fans who have waited this long for our reawakening, thank you for all the support you've shown us over the years. We're back." And it's about damn time. Again, this is a franchise that a lot of us thought would never ever come back. But you look at the position that Capcom has been in recently, and they're doing really well. For a while there, many years ago, they were kind of floundering, but now they're flourishing. They've got these really successful, genuinely good Resident Evil remakes. Street Fighter is doing really well with Street Fighter 6. Monster Hunter is one of their biggest games ever, and is seemingly only going to get bigger with Monster Hunter Wilds. So they're now in a position where they can make smaller, more experimental games like Path of the Goddess, Exoprimal, and even experiment with bringing back franchises that lay dormant for so long, and that means Onimusha. Now, this also does give me hope that maybe somewhere down the line, they can do the same for Dino Crisis. It's a game that desperately needs a remake because there's a lot of really great ideas in the original Dino Crisis, but the game itself is kind of messy. But if you bring it back, clean it up, make it more in the vein of the Resident Evil remakes, I think it could be fantastic. But with Onimusha finally coming back is a dream come true. Now, as for the story, I'm really excited to learn more about the lead character. So it's obviously not Semonosuke, it's not Jubei. This is a brand new protagonist, and he looks like a total badass. Now, as far as the look of the game goes, it is gorgeous, and this is running on RE Engine. So Onimusha on RE Engine, the thing I never thought would happen, is now happening, and it looks stunning. The environments, the characters, the demons all look beautifully rendered, and keep in mind, this is very early footage, which is kind of strange. Capcom normally announces a game and then within a year or so it's coming out, but this is a very early announcement from Capcom, so this is definitely early footage. It's only going to end up looking better. But just seeing the structures in the darkness, but also being illuminated by that moon, the way that the trees look, the souls just kind of hanging around and giving that glow, and then we see our samurai absorbing those souls ready to go to battle. It looks incredible. And also the detail in general on the lead character, he looks almost like a real person at times. The gore effects on the Oni look beautiful as well. It's just shaping up to be a really beautiful game. Now, as far as the gameplay goes, they are 100% leaning into the action element, while of course still keeping the horror vibe of the surroundings and the enemies and the Oni gauntlet. Moving into the action direction is the right choice for this franchise. As much as I love the earlier iterations of Onimusha, which kind of had that Resident Evil inspired gameplay, which I really enjoyed, and then you had Dawn of Dreams, which really expanded and opened up the gameplay to a more action focused style, this fits Onimusha perfectly. Now, what I am curious about is how is this game going to feel? Because there's so many, samurai games out or action games out that kind of either are Souls-like or have a blend with, things like God of War. So will it feel like a Sekiro? Will it feel like an Elden Ring? Will it feel like a Ghost of Tsushima? Will it feel like a God of War? Based on what we're seeing in the gameplay, it looks very fast and frenetic. And since this is Capcom we're talking about, I think it's going to feel really good, really fluid, and super responsive and satisfying. So I think it's going to lean way more towards the action-focused, heavy combo stuff and away from the Souls-like formula, which for me is, the right move, and that's what I personally prefer. I want something that's a little bit more combo-heavy, something that feels more visceral instead of, the Souls stuff. Now, as for the mechanics, based on what we can glean from the trailer, there's a lot of things going on. The biggest thing is the clashing mechanic. There's a few occasions where the samurai will clash with an Oni, and we end up seeing this red glow appear on the sword, which could be some sort of counterattack mechanic. Maybe it's a power-up move or a parry or an indicator for that parry or successful block, but there is a cutscene where he's clashing with an Oni long enough that the entire blade illuminates in red light, heating up. It then turns into a blue flame. So either it's some sort of interesting mechanic for clashing, or this could be one of the elemental weapons that he gets. Again, in the previous Onimusha games, we've got flames and lightning and wind, so it would make sense that that stuff would come back as well. There's the brutal context kills of backstabbing and just straight up slashing an Oni in the chest, ripping them up in the side. And one of my favorite moments in the trailer is when he's fighting multiple Oni. He's also wearing a blue outfit in this scene, which that might be his starting outfit, and then the more he uses the gauntlet, we know it happens to not only change the wearer, but it also changes what they're wearing. Samanosuke, for example, the more he upgraded that gauntlet, the more his own armor started to change. But he has this really great cutscene where he's fighting the Oni, he clashes with one, he sees that there's one coming behind him, and he just gives this beautiful back kick, followed up by a headbutt with the Oni. And that, I think, kind of is a really cool character moment that kind of lets us know who this guy is. He's a samurai, but he's not above headbutting you, which is pretty cool. Now, as for the enemies, obviously there's the standard Oni with their swords, but there's also now these bigger beasts with tails and weapons. And we see the samurai grab one of these beasts by the tail and just swing him around to the side, presumably doing some good damage. We then see that same beast take the axe and do a downward slash, where the lead character then blocks it or essentially parries it and then just kind of moves the axe to the side. And as that happens, we see a big flash of light as the weapons collide, so that could be like a context cue of you successfully blocked an attack, you now parry them and push them away. We also have some other massive beasts, possibly like troll monsters, which kind of gives me God of War vibes. We do see the samurai jumping up behind the beast, running up the back, and then jumping into the air for a downward slash. We then get the logo for the game, and it just looks insane. So I expect this game, and I hope this game, to feel really good. I really want it to feel like a fast-paced, responsive action game. That is really what I lean more towards instead of, like the slower-paced, methodical Soul stuff. But I also do enjoy things like Ghost of Tsushima. The combat in that game was super simple, but it was very satisfying. I never got tired of it. And just battling with all of the different enemies in that game felt really good. So I would expect it to feel, faster paced than Tsushima, a little bit more complicated, because Tsushima's combat is very simple, but very, very fun. But all in all, it's just super nice to know that Capcom is bringing back Onimusha. They have faith in it. And with the success streak that they've been on, there's a possibility that this game could do really, really well, and hopefully lead to not only more Onimushas, but hopefully lead to Capcom looking at some of their back catalog and realizing, hey, we can bring these games back, really put a lot of new effort into them and updating them and, have something successful. So I'm crossing my fingers that eventually they do the same thing to Dino Crisis. With that being said, that is the video. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of Onimusha Way of the Sword so far, and what have you guys gleaned from the trailer in regards to the mechanics, and how are you hoping the mechanics work out in terms of gameplay? Do you like that fast-paced, combo-heavy action, or do you kind of prefer the more Souls-like stuff? I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.